Alright, hi everybody, and welcome to Building Basics. My name is Alex, and today we're going to build this. This is a fun build because most of us have played with Lego, so now we can animate this Lego car. There's some complexities going on here. We're not going to do any of the detail on the bottom because it's just not important to the animated shot. So we're going to focus on the side and the top and give it some color, and then we're going to animate a shot together. So this is a beginner's tutorial, but it's not going to cover the pure basics. So if you're interested in that, go check out my tutorial I did for entry level. And there we go through the options, the interface, and navigating in the viewport. So go check that out if you're new to Blender. Also, what's not going to be included in this episode, in this tutorial, is the car rig that I'm going to put together for this car. That's going to be in a separate video, just to save some time. So let's jump into Blender and let's get building this model. Alright, so let's start with a cube. Shift A, Mesh, add a cube. So the next thing when you're looking at any model you want to build is just the relationship of everything together. And what you want to do is look at it and see what's most important. What catches your eye first? In this case, it's this blue shape. And so that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to do the wheel well and then the tires. Then this model is done. So what I'm going to do, just to, I don't want to take a picture of this, put it in Blender. So I'm just going to take this ruler and measure roughly the proportions. So here we go. And roughly the length is 4 inches by 2 inches. By just a little under ½ an inch. So now I can get very close, not precise, but very close to the dimensions of this Lego car. So I'm going to hit Tab on my cube so I can go into edit mode. And then here I'm going to start to manipulate the vertices to get that shape that I'm looking for. Right here you can see that I'm in vertices. If you hit 2, you're in edge. If you hit 3, you're in face. Very important. So I can manipulate this object, this cube, using any of the 3. So not too specific yet. For the height, it was roughly ½ an inch. I'm going to hit 1. I'm just going to bring that up 1 unit. This top part is also 1 unit high. So the cube by default is 2 units by 2 units by 2 units. So I'm going to bring this down minus 0.6, just because it was a little under ½ an inch. Alright, so now we're going to stretch out the other directions. So what I'm going to do is hit 1 on my numpad, and this just helps me remind myself which way is front. And now I can orbit out, and it's this side that's front. So I'm going to select that, and so I said it was 4 units. So already this is 1 unit from the center in both directions. Hit minus 1 and 1. And there's pretty much our dimensions for the car. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more, and now I've got the length of this Lego car. It's not precise, but it's pretty close. I'm just going to add, you can see there's a bevel on the corners, a really nice bevel. So I'm going to do that, and then the smallest little bevel on the top. So I'll do that for this shape, then move to the wheel well. Then we add the little, I don't know what they're called, but we'll just create them as separate objects. And we'll keep it simple that way. But now what we want to do is go to edge mode. So we're going to hit 2, and we're going to select all the corner edges. If you hit W, it's your select tool, and that just gets rid of your translate or rotate tools if you don't want to always see them, which I do quite often. Alright, so we've got our 4 corners selected. I'm going to hit Control B and bevel, and this bevel is actually pretty big. So something like this I think is pretty appropriate. Looking at it, looking at my model, I think that looks good. But what we want to do, once you commit to that bevel, you can come up here and increase the segments. Something that just rounds that corner off. Alright, this piece is almost done. Nice and simple. Let's move to the wheel well. I'll just create one. And I'm not going to include it as part of this geometry, as part of that. I'm going to keep it separate. Again, this is a simple build. So I'm going to keep these pieces separate and these separate as well. what we'll do is we'll do a modifier, a mirror modifier here. So I'm only doing, creating this one. And then we're gonna worry about the placement, this nice bevel on this side, and on the inside it's nice and sharp. So that's gonna look good. All right, so Shift A, mesh, and we're gonna create a cylinder. Close this guy down, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect. Let's go 3. And so all I'm caring about now really is the relationship of this cylinder to the car. And I have my car beside me, so I can always reference that. But I'm going to hit S to scale, and I'm going to move it over. Already what I'm going to do, let's scale it in a little bit as well. And let's just move it into position. All right, so what we're gonna do now is add a mirror modifier to the cylinder, because I wanna see what this shape and size looks like in all 4 corners, so I can get a better understanding if I need to scale it down. So we're gonna come on over here to our modifiers property with the cylinder selected, and we're going to add a mirror modifier. This mirror object, I'm gonna select the cube, which is the base of the car. And what that does basically is it tells the cylinder, which has the modifier attached to it. What it does is it uses this cube or any other object you select as the center point from where you want to mirror. And let's also turn on the y-axis. And very quickly we can get the wheel wells. We'll use the same technique for the wheels, but right now we'll build the wheel well. Awesome, so the wheel well, it's only half, so I'm gonna cut the cylinder, I'm gonna cut half of the cube, not the cube, half of the cylinder off, and then really where the magic happens is the wheel well goes into the cube as well. So we'll add another modifier after, so we can do a Boolean effect. All right, so I'm gonna hit 3 now to go into face mode. I'm gonna select just this one face, and I'm gonna hit I to do an insert. And if I hold Shift, it just moves that operation slower, so it's more finesse. And just something like that I think looks good. Tab out. I'm just gonna select this cylinder and save it for later. Shift D. Cancel, right click to cancel the move. And I'm just gonna delete this modifier. I'm just gonna pull it off to the side for now. I don't need it. I'm just gonna keep it there. And I'm gonna use it for my Boolean effect after. So let's go back, edit, or go tab into edit mode. With that face selected, I'm gonna delete the face. What we wanna do now, actually, let's hold Shift H. What I want to do is cut a face along this for the backside. So I'm gonna hit K, and you can see K is your knife tool, and it just snaps from one vertice to the other side. Perfect. And then it can keep going. So I'm gonna hit spacebar. I'm gonna go 3, and now delete this face. I wanna keep that top face. And now I'm gonna delete all the faces below this now, just like this. Select them, X, face, X, and face. Hit tab to get out, and Alt H to bring back everything in the scene, everything that's visible. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. The next thing we want to do is cut the shape out. And so that's where that cylinder that we duplicated comes into play. Bring it back. It's a little big, so I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. Push it in. I don't want to cut in the back of the shape. I want it to be close, so I'm going to hit 7 on my numpad, which is our top view. And I'm just going to bring it back pretty close to there. Awesome, so we're going to use this shape to cut into our existing first cube that we made. So we're going to select this cube, and we're going to go to our modifier properties. In modifiers, we're going to go to Boolean. And now I'm going to use this eyedropper tool and just select this cylinder. We can hide that cylinder, and we've carved that out. And you can see the effect the Boolean has on the cube. And it's very cool, it's very exciting. And so now we got to do it to the other 3 sides. So let's show the cylinder again. We're going to select it. And we're going to add a mirror modifier to it. So come down to modifiers, mirror, and we're going to do the X and the Y, just like we did for the the wheel well. We're going to do it now for the Boolean effect as well. We're going to make the mirror object our cube. We're going to hide this, and you can see it had an effect on all of them. Let's select our wheel well. I'm going to hit tab, and I just want to create that bevel on the outside. So we're going to hit 2 to go into our edge selection, and then you're going to select this edge. And if you hit Shift Alt and double click on an edge, you can see that it selects the whole ring. Perfect. We're going to do now Control B and really smooth that out. You can see that my bevel wasn't as I anticipated it. It was skewed to one side, so I'm going to undo that. And the reason for that is we've distorted the shape. And so what we can do is come up here to Object, and we can go to Apply, and we can do All Transforms. Tab, we still have our selection, Control B, and now it acts much better. So if you see that, give that reset a try. Okay, that's looking good. We're going to add a little bit of depth to the wheel well here. So we're going to select this face, or pardon me, that edge, Shift Alt, left click, double click, come on. And it's selected all of that. I'm going to hit E to extrude, cancel it with right click, and then I'm going to go down my axis. All right, so now let's build the tires. And so what I'm going to do is go up to that Boolean effect, that cylinder. I'm just going to select it, Shift D, right click to cancel. And everything's already there. The mirror modifier is already hooked up. Might as well just use that same shape and position, save me a bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to scale in a little bit, right click, and I'm going to hide this one here, that wheel well. And then just looking at the thickness, yeah, it sticks out quite a bit. And so I'm gonna increase the thickness of my tire now. I'm gonna hit tab to get into edit mode, A to select all, and I'm going to scale out. Pull this on, something like that. Maybe my scale's too much, and that's nice. Hit 3 to go to the side, S to scale down, and it's got to fit within the wheel well there. Let's pull it out. Okay, scale it in, or scale it thick-wise a little bit. And all of a sudden we have some tires. Let's add a little bit of detail to that. So we have that definition of the tire, and then the hood cap goes in a little bit. So we'll do that right now. And basically it was there from before. And so what I'm going to do is hit 3 to go to face, and I'm going to just select that ring already, scale it in a little bit. The tire portion goes in. So I'm going to hit E and just pull it in a little bit. That's all I'm worried about. And I like it. Let's do a little bit of a simple tread here. So I'm going to hit Control R, and I'm going to add a ring around the model, and I left click to just to put it on the geo, and then I can right click so it goes back to the center, and I like that. When I look at the tread, let's see if it shows up here. There's kind of a middle portion here. It's very hard to see on the camera, but there's a middle portion, and then it seems like the tread goes out on either side of that. So what I can do with this ring already there, I can hit Control B, decrease the segments back down to 1, and I'm pretty happy with that. The scale, the thickness can be more, so I'm just going to scale that out a bit, and that looks pretty good. This face, what I'm going to do, the inside face, I'm going to Shift D. Actually, let's undo that. Let's select the face, and what I can do is hit P, separate selection. And I can hit tab to get back out, select that face in object mode, and you can see now that is a separate object, which I think is easier to deal with. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, hit E, hit A to select all. It's just that one face. And I'm going to hit E just to extrude out a little bit. And then I'm going to hit I to do my insert faces. Perfect. There's a lip there. I like that. Then we got to go in a little bit. So E to extrude back in a little bit. Not too much. And then I again. somewhere around here look good. Maybe a little more. S to scale in. I like that. I one more time. Boop. Perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do now is select this ring of faces so that I can just extrude that so I create the lip as well. So I think the easiest way to do that is just select the center one, hit Control, the plus number pad sign, grow your selection, then hit Control and deselect that center face. So I have all those selected. I'm gonna hit E, just come out, extrude a little bit. Awesome. So I think our car is taking a nice shape. We got to add those cylinders on the top, smooth it out a little bit, but we're getting somewhere. All right, so what I'm going to do now is start getting closer to that final image. And so I'm just going to start smoothing a couple things out. We could go over to our modifiers and add a subdivision surface. I'm not going to. I just don't need that level. I can do it all just with what I have here. And you know, a Lego is a little rough, so I think it fits in line with the design of that. So let's select the wheel well, or pardon me, the tire cap. And we're going to, with that selected, right click, shade smooth. Cool. And we're going to add a little bit more definition, tab back into edit mode. And just looking at it too, there's a little harsh edges. So what I'm going to do is 2 to go into my edge select those edges. And what I'm going to do is start adding a couple bevels everywhere. Very, very softly, or very, very small, I should say. So I'm selecting basically all those edges. Okay. And now let's go ahead and hit Control B. And I'm holding Shift down and I'm just adding the very faintest little bevel. Tab back out, and that's looking really cool. And I can add Control R, just one more ring, maybe right in here. Control things a little bit more. All right, let's add those 6 dots around the tire, then this is done. Create Shift A. And we're going to create a sphere. Scale that down and just bring that out. Let's go into 3, our side view, really scale that down, G to move. And we're just going to add it to the rest. So what we're going to do as well is we're going to add that mirror modifier that we did before. Where are you? Mirror. And we're going to use this cube, that original one. So now you can see it's on this side. And we're also going to say Y. So now it's everywhere. Cool. Let's go back into side view. Am I happy with that scale? I think I am. Shift D, right click. Let's just pull it down. Not going to be too precise, but there you go. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is select both. And you can see if I bring up my translation tool that the pivot now is between the 2 objects. If I do just one, it's in the center point of that object. I can select another one and it's in the center of both. That's very useful. You can change that up here if you wanted individual origins, 3D cursor or anything like that. The medium point works perfect for this. So let's go Shift D with those selected, right click to cancel its movement, and let's rotate this 60 degrees. Perfect. And Shift D one more time, right click and 60 degrees one more time. Okay, there is our tire. Or pardon me, the rim. What we're gonna do now is just finish this tire off. We're gonna add a little tread because I think it just looks good. Bevel the exterior or the outside edge and then finish this off. So let us, how do we want to do this? Well, let's do it this way. Let's select faces. A bit time consuming, but let's select faces and we're just going to alternate the selection. Perfect. We're going to alternate on this side too. All right, so I have that selected. And actually what I want to do as well, looking at it, is select that face right there as well. So I'm going to go to front view, turn on see through everything, Shift, select that as well. Okay. And so let's, if we extrude this right now, just by hitting E, it extrudes to one side, and we don't want that. So right click to cancel. Let's go up here to this options, and we want to extrude along normals. Perfect. Just something very simple. Doesn't have to be much. Tab out. Alright, so the tire is done. Let's go back to the hood caps, and we can shade smooth, and let's add a little bit more definition. So we have that there. Let's add a little bit of a bevel right to this one edge. Shift Alt, select that whole row, and let's go over here, Shift B, just very small. Okay, I like that. Alright, that part's done. Let's also come on over here and tab into this cube, this original one. We're going to select just this top row of edges, Control B, add the smallest little bevel, just to catch a bit of light. I think that looks good. Last thing we got to do, let's work through this quickly, is just add all these rows of cylinders here. And so let's do that. Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder, Tab, select the face, and let's hit I and E to extrude down. Perfect. A to select everything, S just to scale it. Let's go 7 into our top view. And so we have 12 in total. And what we're going to do is use a mirror modifier. It's just going to help us with the planning and the placement of these things. So let's just do that right now. With that selected, let's go back into object mode by hitting tab. I have that cylinder selected, and let's add a mirror modifier. We're going to use this cube, and let's start just placing it. Let's turn this on as well. Perfect. So now we can worry about just the one. And then actually let's also add let's just minimize this. Let's add an array modifier. So we can zero that out, and we are on the axis of Y. I always have to look. I've been in this industry 15 years and I still have to look at my axis, especially in Blender. So don't be afraid if after a year or months or whatever, you might be the type that gets it, you might not. I always have to look. So I look up here, I keep this on, I minimized it from its default larger form, but it's Y. So I can come up here and start playing with that. And so now what we're going to do, now that it's kind of working, we're going to arrange these two modifiers in different order, and that affects the outcome. And so this is more what I would expect. There was only 2, and I'm going to increase this to 3. Come on. And now I can work on the placement a little better, and it's going to be more accurate. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's add a small little bevel, and then we're done with the car. So I'll hit 2, and let's select just those edges. Perfect. Control B. Oh, that looks good. Select it. Select the edge. Come on. Perfect. Control B. Small little bevel. And it applies it to all of it. Let's also shade smooth that object. Okay. I would say the model is done. If you did it up to here, congratulations. I know it's an accomplishment. You know, if you're a little more advanced and you just want to touch up, I hope this helped. But if you're new, yes, congratulations. It's nice to build something. And you can see that any kind of art is always step by step. When you look at something, it might feel a little challenging, but when you break it down step by step, things are achievable. Let's go ahead and add color and and let's animate this. So for color, we're going to come down here to our materials property. We're going to hit new, and really the dominant color is blue. So I'm just going to call this blue. Okay, we're going to come up here just so we can see our materials. And I'm going to select this object. I've already created that blue, so I'm going to attach it, and let's actually give it a color. And this is nice because it can always be adjusted later, so I'm not going to stress about it. Let's select the wheels, blue, okie dokie. Also, I might as well do it now. I'm looking at it and it is quite shiny, this blue one. And the least shiny is the black rubber material, even though it's not rubber, it's plastic. The yellow also has a good shine, so I'm going to include that here. So let's go down, and the roughness can be pulled down quite a bit, not too much, so I don't see too much detail, too much shine, but something like that. I'm going to select that wheel well one more time. I'm going to add a little bit of definition back here. So what I'm going to do is, what I should have done before is inserted some faces, but I didn't, so let's try that now. Let's select this face right now, hit 3, perfect, and just pull that in. What that's going to do is just going to help that back face not give off weird reflections. That definition helps. Okay, let's move on to the tire here. Let's go new, and let's darken this up. Don't go all the way, something like that I think looks good. Okie dokie. Let's go to the hood caps, new. Nice and simple. All right, so nice job. You've added the materials to your car, and now we're ready to animate. So, like I said in the beginning, in order to animate, you need to set up either a rig or a hierarchy. And a hierarchy is just this geometry follows this geometry, so when you animate this geometry, everything follows. I wouldn't do that in this case, but there are some simplified things that I would use, just a hierarchy to animate things and just move quickly. This one, I've created a very simple car rig tutorial, and I use that idea of the car rig, and it's very simple, and I use it pretty much in all my cars. It's simple, easy to build, and it allows me just the right control of the car. So check that video out, how to create that tutorial, how to create a car rig, then come back here and then you can animate with me as well. But I'll continue here and I'll jump into another file where I've rigged this car. So I'll see you there in a second. Alright, so here we go. I have my car rig loaded in, and we're going to create some animation. So what I'm thinking would be fun is just like in the intro, I had a shot where we're low to the ground, when we're moving with the car, we can achieve that same thing together here. So what we're going to do is create a camera and a very simple ground texture, a very simple just geometry that represents the road. And I'll show you how you can add some excitement to the animation and then how I would go about filming that. Awesome. So let's take a look and let's begin. So first thing I'm going to do, and excuse some of the geometry, this was from the scene before, so I deleted everything, and so there's some stuff left over. So let's go up to our animation view, and let's set up our work environment the way we like to. So normally the time slider is down here, so you can just pull that up so you can have access to your keys quickly. Let's put this more to a reasonable frame length. Perfect. And so here, this is the way I always set up animations. It doesn't matter what software I'm in. I have 3 panels basically. 3D viewport. This is going to be my camera window, and I like to turn everything off here. I just don't want to be distracted with anything. I want to make it as clean as possible. Graph editor, which I have here, and then my time slider down there. Okay, so let's create a road. Just a simple road, Shift A, plane, and let's scale it up. And let's just give ourselves a long runway. Perfect. Maybe a bit more. Okay. Awesome. What I'm going to do as well is, there's no way what you need in an action shot, you need speed, you need movement. And if you don't have anything else in your scene that you can judge your movement, the camera or the object's movement in relationship to something else, it's just not going to work. So let's just add a simple box for now. Put it off to the side. We'll scale it up a little bit. Perfect. Let's skinny it up. I don't want it to draw attention to itself. But we need something to judge our movement and our speed. Perfect. Let's add a modifier, just an array. Wrong direction. Cool. Let's just pull this back, and I'm happy with that, at least for now. And you saw in the beginning in that test that I created, you can get a little more fancy if you want to, but the animation and the staging, the framing, and the composition and the animation is the same approach that I'm showing you right now. Okay, so next I've built that road, and it's just too bright. Let's go ahead and just select the road. Just darken this up a little bit. Just too bright. Awesome. Perfect. So let's go ahead and now Shift A. We're going to create a camera. I'm going to hit 0 to frame into that camera. I'm going to hit N to bring my properties up here. Camera to view. I'm going to click that off for now. And I'm going to frame in a little bit, just to make this window bigger. I'm going to hit N again. Camera to view. I really love that button. And this, I would say, the ability to frame through your camera is 90% of the value of a layout artist. And I know when I first started doing layout, I was in animation, but then I switched, and there was a company, and I'm sure many in the world do, but there was one company that you would have to move your camera over here to see what's going on in the other window. You could not affect the framing in the camera viewport. The work showed it. The work was not good. This right here, the ability to do this, and then your understanding of what makes a good framing, is 90% of the job. If you're doing action, it's 60%. But if you're doing lots of simple over the shoulders, single shots, 2 shots, this is even 95% of your job right here. And you can move very quickly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to find an angle that's appealing for this car. Typically it's a low angle. Just get that low to the ground. Next thing that I want to do is think about my lens. Right now I'm using a 50mm, which is the standard in Blender. And 50mm, your eye sees about 42 or 50mm, roughly. There's different numbers out there, but you can think that roughly 50mm is what we see, and that's the compression. For an action scene, we want to drop that down from 50 to 20, 18, elongate it, so then when we're moving, objects they appear to go by the camera faster. So that's the idea there. So let's go ahead with the camera selected. We can come down here. You can see the 50mm. Let's just do 24. Already our perspective, not our perspective, but the field of view has been elongated. Perfect. What I like as well is select any part of it, and then you can frame here. And how I'm going in and out so quickly, and I really use that a lot, is it's just a hotkey. It's Alt Q that I set up myself, and I show that in that beginner entry-level Blender tutorial. So check that out. Very useful just to be able to move in and out quickly, and also Alt and whatever that key beside the squiggly line beside the 1 that plays your animation. So I use that a lot. Okay, so already the framing is looking pretty good. And I just want to get close. It's aggressive, we're close to it. And probably I'm thinking what we're going to do is we're going to move the camera. I'm going to start in a higher position, come down into this position. We're going to do an orbit around the camera, and then the car is going to go away. Just like that last shot in the beginning opener. But everything starts with my framing. Even before that, it starts with the staging. The staging, the car, the road, and then those pillars. That's the staging. Now we move on to the framing, and now that's what I'm thinking about here. And what I just described, how the camera is going to be moving, that's the camera animation, but we need to pick a frame to start from. And you can think that if you're in animation, it's your keyframe. You can say it's your key framing. It's just your main idea. And so something like that I think looks good. Perfect. I'm happy with it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, I don't have a camera rig in the scene, so I'm just going to create something that allows me to create that pivot move. Oh, I ruined it. Let's just go back here. There, I like that. I'm going to hit N and I'm going to turn this off, so I can't actually or accidentally do that again. If I want to go into my camera view, I hit 0. Perfect. And I'm going to create an empty. And that's just going to be used for 2 reasons. I'm going to animate that, I'm going to constrain the camera to that, and then that's going to be my orbit effect as well. Shift A, and we can create an empty. And pick any empty shape you like. I'll just pick this arrow. Perfect. I'll scale it up so I can see it. Easy to select. So I'm going to constrain this camera to this arrow. Okay, so let's do that. Let's select the camera. Boop. And come on over here to our constraints properties. And what we're going to do is say child of. And it is a child of this empty that we just made. So now when I select this guy, you can see it follows. Very useful. And then I can still independently move this guy. Also very useful. That at its basic is very powerful. Just doing that, it's going to allow you to create some pretty impressive camera moves, and then layering a couple more simple ideas on top of that. Yeah, you can get some impressive stuff. All right, so we're ready to animate. We're going to keep this very simple. What we're going to do is select the control, the move all for the car. Select this empty, which the camera's constrained to. Let's go to frame 1. And let's start pulling things back. So now that we got our framing, now we're just worried about our speed. I like that. I'm going to hit high, and I'm going to do location. And I don't really know how long the shot is, but let's just think. I might have a second at the beginning, a little less than a second. Excuse me, a little less than a second. The orbit's pretty quick. A second. The end, another second. So this whole thing we can say is 4 seconds long. I think that's a nice amount. So let's go 96 frames. If we need more, we can always add more. If we don't need as much, we can trim it down. But seeing 150 frames, you think that I have to fill all that time with some action. And so that's not the case. You can adjust what you need. All right, so we've keyed that first frame. We're at frame 96. Let's just pull this all the way to the end. Key location cancel. In my graph editor, I'm gonna hit A to select all, period numpad to view everything. And what I'm gonna do now too, just to help you guys, I just realized, is I'm gonna turn this on. Come on. Just to see my commands. All right. So I have my keys selected. It's just 2 right at the end. A, and I'm gonna hit V to hit vector. Vector is just linear, and I just want to see it moving. All right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna just increase my field of view there, or go into that screen, and all I'm gonna do is check the speed out. Is it as fast as I want. I will not move past this point until I think it is what I want. And I think it looks good. Cool. If it didn't, I would adjust. All right, so I like that. The next thing I would do is already think of an offset. It's boring when it's 1-to-1. It feels constrained. It doesn't look good. So the next thing I'm going to do, either select your camera or select your car. If I select the car, I'm going to increase the speed a little bit so the car is gaining on the camera. If I select the empty, I'm going to bring it back the other way. It's the same effect. The car needs to gain on camera. Let's do the car. So I'm going to deselect. Let's just do the car. Perfect. And I'm just going to increase that location. Let's check that out. Already just doing that, you're going to get something better. Cool. All right, I like it. Next thing I'm going to do is what I typically do for a generic action shot, and it looks good. This is almost a guarantee to look good. So what I've done, I've created my framing, I've done my speed, and it's, you know, you can replace this car with anything, with Sonic, with a character, with two characters running, with whatever. The idea is always the same. And I think where some artists get stuck is they think that's it. What else can I do? And there's a lot of stuff you can do. Here's what you can do at the beginning of a shot. 4 seconds, if something is the same for too long, it becomes boring, even though you think it's action. So with my camera selected now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to key it at frame, let's say 19. I'm going to key the location and the rotation. I'm going to go back to frame 1. And now I'm going to manipulate the camera. So the reason I'm keying it at frame 19 is I know I want to get into that framing. I'm going to go to the beginning, adjust the framing, adjust maybe my focal length, and I'm getting into that framing. So that's important. So let's do that. I'm going to pull it back, pretty aggressive, don't be shy. Up, change perspective. By changing the perspective, you're changing the shape of the object. In action, that's very important. And let's give it some rotation. Just experiment. You see how quickly I'm going. It's not, if I get it wrong, I just redo it. I try something again. All right, you can see the Dutch. I'm getting pretty aggressive. I like it. Pull it back even a little more. Awesome. A to select all, V vector for linear. And I'm thinking about going to, I just hit up on my arrow. That takes me to that keyframe. And now, just going back here, I'm going to add a little bit of a Dutch. And so if my Dutch at the beginning is left screen down, I'm going to go right screen down here. Awesome. I'm going to adjust the framing already a little bit here, so I'm just a bit more centered, and key everything. Perfect. So let's see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. Already something. And yes, the ending and the middle is still the way it is. I'm not worried about that. But the beginning, all of a sudden, I've added something different for the viewer to look at. That makes it exciting. So all we have to do is smooth that out. Everything's selected. I'm just going to hit I, all channels, basically insert that key. I'm going to come on over here and just pull it out a little bit. And really what this is your settle. V auto clamp. I'm just settling into that. I can always adjust it, so let's check it out now. Cool. So I'm aggressive, and then you smooth into that framing. Perfect. Let us now. It smooths in about here, and I'm gonna kick in my orbit around the car just before this move ends. So just around here. Perfect, and that I'm going to do with this empty. I'm going to hit I to key my rotation. And then somewhere around here, give it a good 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. I'm going to orbit around my car. Perfect, something like that. That looks pretty cool. and rotation again. I'm going to select this curve. Come on. A to vector, or A for all and vector. There we go. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. I think it looks pretty good. Now I can build my settle, my ease in and out. So here we go. I just want to do it on this one curve. So that is my Z rotation. I'm going to select that, Shift H, and now I can just focus on this one. Just my rotation. And all I'm doing is adding keys to prevent the middle portion of this from being affected. I just want to affect the ease in and out at the timing that I want. So that's what those keys serve for. Pull this out. So, and I really want a long settle. V and auto clamp, it's just gonna be soft. This one doesn't need to be as much. Come on. G, just a bit. And also auto clamp. All right, so let's check that out. Very cool. So the last thing I'm going to do is just affect the framing towards the end a little bit. And maybe what I'll do is add a crane up as well. And then that's the shot. All right, so let's go back to our camera. Boop. I'm going to affect the ending. Just kind of flatten things out a little bit. And there. I'm going to select those keys, vector, and I just want to hit it a little harder, and then I'll add my settle. Nice. Here we go. Select those, make sure they're selected. Key all. Actually, I can increase that a little bit. Key all. Delete this guy right there, and pull this over. V for auto. Let's check it out. Yeah. Awesome, and let's just add the crane move, and I think we're done. So let's do Alt H on this just to show everything. A, select all, and period numpad to see everything. And so it's moving in that direction. What I'm going to do now is animate on the Z axis for my translate, and that's going to create that crane. And just really as I'm finishing this move here, so maybe around 61, I will insert my location. And yeah, sure, let's go right to the end. Crane up, and actually I'm going to slow my move down too, and let the car just, oops, it's not. Let's switch this over to global, and I'm going to crane up, and I'm going to slow that move down, and I'm going to pan down as well, but I'm going to let the car essentially feel like it's zooming away from us by just animating the camera back location. Awesome, so this is doing its thing there. Location, or my Z axis, Shift H, so I can see that, A, and you can see we just want to control that. So here I'm going to say V, auto clamp, and then that looks good. Yeah, that's looking pretty sick. And so I'm just missing the just the pan down there at the end. And yeah, I mean, nice and simple. It's always effective. I think it's I've tested this method many times. It always delivers the goods. Okay, last thing, like I said with the camera, we have to pan down. So here we start rising. And typically, I mean, in a studio, I'd have a camera rig that just has these layers of controls. And I'm going to be working on a camera rig specifically for Blender. And yeah, I hope it's going to be effective. And it's going to offer me the ability to work at my level with that camera rig. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, so just as I'm about to start the crane up, maybe 71, I'm going to hit I and key rotation. Go right to the end and just start panning down. Okay, key it again. All right, I'm gonna delete that one key I don't need anymore. I used before, but I don't need. Okay, I'm gonna select this last key. Just make sure it's vector, just like before, or just like the empty control. And then that's my camera animation. So the camera animation's done. You can see when I'm working on the action shot, the camera and the action of, in this case, the vehicle, they work hand in hand. And then I'll work on the camera animation, and then, because I'm an animator as well, I'll then go back to the car animation and do whatever I want to the car inside the framing I've just set. So that's how I approach things. Let's select these controls. I don't see the back one, but yeah, we'll do them anyway. We're just gonna animate the tires turning, and then that's it. Insert rotation, go all the way to the end. I've never been too concerned. Oops, let's change this to individual origins and just give it a whole bunch of rotations. Into the rotation, perfect. Yeah, I've never been concerned about being too accurate with my rotation. I think it either looks good in the camera or it doesn't. Let's find somewhere down here. Cool, I'm finding a sweet spot right there. So I'm gonna just keep working that. All right, there's my shot. Let's give it a quick play blast, just a quick render, and then let's see what the final looks like. All right, let's come on over here. Awesome, let's pick our location for where we want this to go. Lego car. And so here's those tests you saw at the beginning, but I'll just create a new one here. Test. Perfect. For the options I use, I always go with this FFmpeg video. Scroll down over here. Let me get out of the way so you can see the options. Oh geez. Oh god. There we go. Yeah, so let's see, just a QuickTime. Oh geez. QuickTime. And then H.264. I leave everything else where it is. All right, so we're gonna come to render and render animation. And I mean, what a quick way Eevee is. I mean, here we go. It's just like a play blast in mine. It just moves really quick. So there you go. This is the rendered final product. Even though aesthetically I could have done better, added a background and done other things to jazz it up, you can see that we can get to, well, building the car, which is fun, and then animating that car, which is also great. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this, and if you made it to the end, thank you. If you're gonna do your own test and you want some feedback, and I have the resources and time, send me your stuff and I'll give you some feedback. All right, take care everybody. Bye-bye.